There's a despicable person by the name of Andrew Tate who speaks on Jews and Israel all the time and their corruption and their, control over society. And he got confronted by Adam Sosnick about how Trump supports Israel. Trump supports the Jews. Trump has a Jewish daughter-in-law. And watch how he backtracks. And then I'm also going to show you a clip that he just went on the Candace Owens show and sort of, contrasted what he said here.
So Trump has been very pro-Israel, and so he's been very pro-Bibi.
Correct.
And matter of factly, Tate. So do you think he's wrong on that, being so supportive of Israel?
You know, this whole Jewish question thing is actually an interesting one. I'm going to talk about this. This is going to get me in more trouble. How much trouble am I in? Let me count it.
80%.
The Orgons are coming for you, Tate.
Fucked. Right. T, we're going to jail. Pack a bag.
Tristan.
Right. Pack a bag. Right. So this, it's actually kind of frustrating for me because when I came out of jail, I did Piers Morgan, and I told Piers that what was happening in Gaza was a massacre. And this was on like October 9th, like 2 days after.
You said genocide.
Genocide. I said it was unfair what was happening. This was before it became like widespread. This was only a couple days after. And I was told not to say that. That's going to get you in a lot of trouble. But that's what I believed, so I said it at the time. And there's a lot of people online who are fervently anti-Jew and are very anti-Semitic. And I know who these people are. And you know these people are, a lot of them. Sometimes,
Kanye West.
Yeah, well, no, sometimes they have a point of view, and sometimes they just go way too far with it. So I think
he's referring to his colleagues because every single one of those anti-Semites has been in Twitter rooms with him, has been on, in actual rooms with him. I mean, there are pictures of him with the biggest anti-Semites in the world, whether it be Dan Bilzerian, whether it be Jake Shields, whether it be Nick Fuentes.
This whole argument is kind of two-pronged. The first prong is that there are people in the world who blame the Jews for absolutely everything, and that is pathetic. And these people think that they worked out the secret of the world, and they're based, and they blame Jewish people for everything. They're like, oh, but that's the Jews. What is? Race mixing is the Jews. Maybe they're attacking me for supporting race mixing. My dad is black, my mother is white. Why do you think the Israelis called me and told me to say this? It's my upbringing. Or they'll say, oh, but you can't get a girlfriend because the girls have all been subverted by the media. That's the Jews. How did the Jews keep you out the gym? Because your arms are skinny, bro. How did the Jews stop you from being a man they want to fuck? Explain that to me. They go so far with it. And if you try and point this out, you're instantly a Mossad agent. Even I get this. After defending Palestine and risking my life, because they could have locked me back up and I was told not to, they're still not happy with me because I don't go far enough with blaming the rain on the Jews. It rained outside. You didn't have an umbrella. The Jews did it. So there's the psycho side of it. Mm-hmm. But as a rational person who likes to see both sides of the argument, I would also argue it is interesting that it seems the only influence over the American government that we're not scared about or we don't measure is the Israeli influence of the American government.
Okay, hold on. He's saying that people don't talk about AIPAC. People don't talk about how AIPAC controls the government. That's his argument. Every single right-wing, left-wing, politician or talking head has talked about AIPAC. All day they talk about how AIPAC controls this, how AIPAC controls that. Anything goes wrong, it's because of AIPAC. The idea that it's not talked about enough is either insane or he's in an echo chamber of people that do talk about it, and therefore, and those people are, not having such great lives for whatever reason or another, and they, pretend like it's AIPAC doing that as well.
It seems they do have some control over the American government. They do lobby heavily, and nobody talks about it in a negative way. Whereas if the Chinese do it or the Russian do it, there seems to be a big problem. It doesn't seem to be measured when Israel does it, and nobody seems to be concerned by it. Now, whether that's a good or bad thing, you can get someone on more qualified than me to discuss. There's people more qualified than me. I would argue as a rational, intelligent individual that the American government should be pertinently aware of all influences that are put on it. Shouldn't you measure them? I'm not saying even stop them, but shouldn't you know? Because let me ask another question. This is a thought experiment. If you allow a nation to influence your nation and you allow it to happen unchecked, who's influencing the influencer? I don't know this at all. This is off the top of my head. Who says Israel's not being influenced by China, Russia, whoever? What I'm saying is they can be a conduit if you allow it to be unchecked. So I understand that Israel seems to be the only country that can influence American politics without being checked. I understand that. I understand that's strange. I agree that should be measured. That's true. However, to argue that the Jews are the only reason why you're a little bitch hiding in your house at home, that's also bullshit. There's definitely a lot of irrationality on both sides. That's what I would say about that whole subject. And I think that people should be more rational and approach it rationally.
Approach it rationally. Okay, so what about a guy or a woman like Candace Owens? He just went on Candace Owens and basically, went full Jew hater, went full blame everything on the Jews, in another 3-minute clip.
Issue with you, okay? Nobody had an issue with you, okay, despite your case going on, until you hopped on to Piers Morgan on October 9th and said that you were pro-Palestine and called it a genocide. I watched overnight.
Nobody had an issue with Andrew Tate. Yep. Nobody had an issue with him until he went on Piers Morgan and shit on the Jews and shit on Israel. Nobody. Nobody at all. I mean, I would argue that everybody had an issue with him since his inception. I mean, he's been talking about this matrix that has been going after him, how all the swamp members are against him, and the entire system is rigged against him. But, only after October 7th, when in reality he's been pretending like everybody's against him throughout this entire time. So pick one. Either everybody was against you the whole time, or after October 7th, everybody started going against you.
Overnight, they went from, okay, he's fine. You can talk to Andrew Tate. Everyone wanted to know Andrew Tate, figure out his platform, to a complete 180 and trying to say, well, it's not Christian, it's not this, he's a bad guy. And suddenly everybody wanted to look into Andrew Tate. That I watched that happen live, okay? So any person who would like to debate me on that, who is a neocon, who is pretending that they've held these perspectives about Andrew Tate forever, since the investigations began, please, I invite you to have that conversation with me, because you're all lying, okay? Let's not dress this up as something that it isn't. This is about Andrew Tate saying something that you don't want him to say because he's too influential. If he took a Likud party position and he said, kill every last Palestinian, he would be governor of Florida.
It's very interesting because I felt it myself. When I had these accusations, everybody understood, well, they've done this to Donald Trump and they did it in New York, and this is happening in Romania, and it's all very old, and the judicial system there can't be trusted, and they haven't even managed to have an election because it's so corrupt, and this doesn't really make sense, and why did they attack him when he got big online? Everyone was on my side until that exact day, and after that day, they all instantly turned on me. The second I said we shouldn't be blowing children to pieces, the second I criticized Israel, that was the day where I lost all of the support from the conservative side. And
was that not me as well? Have we not seen this trend happening over and over and over again? Candace Owens was totally fine. She was never considered anti-Semitic and Adolf Hitler. All of a sudden, she speaks up about a human right violation and says too many Palestinian children are dying. And what happened to me overnight?
Okay, so Candace Owens, just so you understand, in the last year, she's spoken about Jews on 73% of her shows. 73%. So her whole thing is anti-Jewish, anti-Jewish, anti-Jewish. And then we call her an anti-Semite, and she freaks out. Me, an anti-Semite? Andrew Tate described exactly Candace Owens. The first thing I thought was when he said, oh, these people that just blame everything on the Jews. The first thing I thought of was Candace Owens, because that's a person that irrationally hates the Jews, discusses the Jews 9 times out of 10 out of her shows, and then looks back, oh, it's not my fault. It's the Jews. That is exactly correct. And Andrew Tate, Candace Owens, the woke right, Tucker Carlson, the entire, list of names there are all part of this crazed anti-Jewish conspiracy. Oh, it's the Jews. Oh, it's the Jews. Get on with your lives. Like Tate said, why are you blaming the Jews for everything? And, again, then he goes back on it, about 12 hours later. For more, subscribe to the channel. If you want to help us make more of these videos, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/JewishUncensored. Thank you. Have a good one.